G'day, my name's Guy Gross. I'm the composer on Farscape, and this episode, Revenging Angel, was a blast. It's an animated episode, well, parts of it are animated, and I had to really go out and train myself back up in some serious cartoon scoring. I actually am the son of animation producers and directors, so it's somewhat in my blood, but this particular style, this very Chuck Jones and the composer Carl Stalling really set the benchmark in this style of animation music, and it's really hard. I thought I'd been scoring animation for quite a while, but the way Chuck Jones and Carl Stalling pulled it off is just unbelievable. And not only that, they did it without the technology we have today. They did it with real players, and they did it just... It's just hard to believe they managed to do what they've done. It was an extraordinary effort. They used to use camera charts and frame by frame to know what was going on. For me today, I use a computer and I use a screen, but it's still such a nightmare to do. It took almost double the time that it normally takes me to do an episode of Farscape. So yes, the rest of the episode is reasonably normal and I score it in a normal kind of way, but when we get into the animation sequences, it's just pure Chuck Jones and Carl Stalling. Well, Carl Stalling is the composer who really set the style. And I was just playing you just a little bit of a bassoon, playing the kind of things that Carl Stalling established in the harmonies and the comic movements. He was someone that was very happy to reference existing tunes. So if you listen through the episode, there's small fragments of melodies that I use. I can't think off the top of my head, but you should be able to hear them. Occasionally, and they're all in sort of public domain works. So I think I do a Johnny Comes Marching Home or something for Johnny. So it's a blast to do, it's a lot of fun. I'll play your sequence. So as you can see by that, for a composer, my job is really to follow absolutely every frame, including eye blinks, certainly the runaway with a xylophone. The challenge I had was to make this sound real and also to make it sound of the time. So the first thing I did was remove the beautiful reverb that I normally work with and create a really tight room reverb, which would have been the case in the day when Chuck Jones and Carl Stalling were working. They had much more inferior equipment to deal with, and they had smaller rooms to record their music in. So that's the first thing I did. Then I had to carefully find what sounds can I create electronically that will be convincing. So the bassoon was one. Another obvious one is the piano. And woodwind is also another one. Clarinet I use quite a lot. Also a really common one is pizzicato strings. really common animation technique. So for a composer, it was an absolute blast. As I say, double the work and quite an effort to get done. What also makes this music so distinctive is the fact that it uses really nice traditional harmonies, diminished chords, augmented chords, major minors, really obvious stuff, and fun and silly stuff. So it was not a problem to source that kind of material. It's all original music, but so in the style of Carl Stalling. There's a couple of gorgeous CDs, which if you're fans of this style of music is worth getting, called Carl Stalling Project. And it's really, you just listen to it as a composer and you think, how on earth did they play that stuff? Because it was very complicated to play, but also how did they synchronize it to pictures? It was just a real nightmare to do, but they were just masters at it.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to pay our final respects and to say farewell to our dear friend, Commander John Crichton, a schmuck. Mule-headed, reckless, and probably brain-dead before I met him. Alas, his death is mine also.
Bach is one of my favorite composers, and as soon as I saw Scorpius do this whole death sequence, it immediately said to me Bach and one of the organ works, or the style of the organ works he wrote. So organ is something that synthetically you can do really quite easily, but I grew up singing in a lot of choirs, so when there were church services, all that stuff sort of inbred in me. So it's a joy to play and a joy to write, and for a over-the-top sequence like this, quite a lot of fun to do. So enjoy the rest of the episode, and if you're interested, Carl Stalling's the god of this stuff, and I sort of followed in his footsteps as best I could. Thanks for listening.